Proverbs chapter 21. And while you're turning there, I'll give you a couple of upcoming announcements to prepare yourself for. First of all, let's see here, February 2nd. Yep. So this Saturday, our church is going down to the Lighthouse Mission to do our monthly outreach there. Please pray for that. And if you've never been down, I would encourage you to consider coming out to this. It starts at 4:30. We serve the homeless for an hour as they come through the line. We get to meet them, uh, introduce ourselves, build relationships, and we even have a prayer meeting afterwards with them, and it's been very successful. So please pray for our Lighthouse Mission outreach. And if you would like to come down and volunteer, you can sign up and let us know. This Valentine's Day is on a Friday, and we will be having a Valentine's banquet with our church folk. This year, it's going to be held at MCL, which is over there on Poplar Street in the Meadows Shopping Plaza. And if you would like to come to our MCL Valentine's banquet, you will not be disappointed. There will be prizes and there will be a special speaker, and everybody's coming. And the meal will be Dutch treat. Come, go through the line and pick out what you want to eat. They have so many good things there to eat. I can't wait to make decisions on that. And so that's at 6 o'clock. We'll have a special speaker. And so please sign up if you're going to come to that so we know how many to prepare for and how many to plan for. But that will be next Friday, the 14th, at MCL, our Valentine's banquet. It's going to be a fun time there. On the 22nd, we're going to Seedline International, which is our missionaries that we support. They are on the other side of Brazil, the east side of Brazil. And over there, they prepare and print Bibles. And so if you would like to come help there, please sign up. And then our next Fuel Saver Sunday is on the 23rd of February. And on the 23rd of February, we're going to be having a Fuel Saver. That means we won't have an evening service that night. And our meal topic is favorite childhood dish. Whatever your favorite childhood dish is, we encourage you to bring that. And again, we're hoping that that brings forth some good topics of discussion during our fellowship time there. Lyford Men's Stakeout is on the 7th of March at 6:30. Sign up if you'd like to go to that. That is $13 per person. And we look forward to going that every single year. All right, Proverbs chapter number 21 is where we will be today. And we have 4 verses until we finish it up. And I think we're just going to finish it up tonight. Let us read Proverbs 21, verse 28 through 31. It says, "A false witness shall perish, but the man that heareth speaketh constantly. A wicked man hardeneth his face, but as for the upright, he directeth his way. There is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against the Lord. The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but the safety is of the Lord." Here we have 4 verses that again define what is wisdom. We look for wisdom. These things are wisdom. They help us to understand the mind of God and what is the right way to act, to think, and to do in this world. The first one, verse 28, is a pretty obvious one in a sense, and then on the other hand, it's not. It's very obvious when it's talking about a false witness shall perish. Now, what is a false witness? This is a simple concept, one that I think all of us learn, and all of us understand, even as young children. One of the first things that our mothers and fathers teach us how to do is do not tell lies. And we learn what a lie is and what the truth is, and we spend a lifetime trying to make sure that we don't disobey our parents nor disobey God. But what is a false witness? The easiest way to define a false witness would be in one word that begins with an L. A liar. A false witness is a liar. Someone who doesn't tell the truth. But really, it's not the original meaning. Not the original meaning is just lying in a sense, because sometimes we take the word lie and we put it in different areas. In its direct concept, it has a different idea. The first time we ever see the phrase false witness used is in the Ten Commandments. And it doesn't say, thou shalt not lie. It says, thou shalt not bear false witness against who? Your neighbor. You're not supposed to bear false witness against your neighbor. Now, this shows that lying in itself is a very general idea, but false witness is a little bit more specific because it's against your neighbor. It shows that lying is understood as something we do towards or against someone else, rather than just lying to protect ourselves. Sometimes we think of lying solely in the idea of, well, I had to lie because I wanted to, in some way, protect myself from getting in trouble, protect myself from getting in some sort of issue, or protect someone from knowing the truth that may possibly hurt them. Now, that is not a right thing to do, but the main idea is becoming a false witness against your neighbor, as in a court of law. That when you are in a court of law, there is the judge and there is the person that is on trial. And a witness is called to the bench to make a testimony. Did so and so do so and so? And before they get up there, at least in the American court of law, you put your hand on the Bible and do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And you say yes. And if somebody, after making that oath, tells a lie, we say they have perjured themselves, they've committed perjury, or they have become a false witness. That's normally the context that we see this in, and it's kind of the context that God puts it in originally. When you give a false witness, don't have a false testimony against your neighbor. Most of the time, that's the idea, but also the idea of lying is very egocentric. It always cycles around us, but nonetheless, that is the original idea. Any lie is bad, whether you're doing it towards somebody or to protect yourself. All of them are bad. Look over at Proverbs 25 for a moment. Proverbs 25 and verse 18. Proverbs 25 and verse 18. It says here, a man that beareth false witness against his neighbor is a maul, M-A-U-L, not Honey Creek Mall, M-A-L-L, maul, M-A-U-L, a sword, and a sharp arrow. This gives us three personifications, if you will, of a false witness. A maul, which is a big club, all right? It's a big club with sometimes with spikes on it, but a big club, a sword, sharp weapon, or a sharp arrow, something that you fire. Meaning that a false witness does damage. That's what it's saying. A false witness does damage. He does violence in a way towards himself and towards others. Not good. And so this false witness, we understand this. You're not supposed to lie. You're supposed to tell the truth. And the destiny of the false witness is also showed in Proverbs 21:28, where it says, a false witness shall perish. Means he shall die. Everybody dies, but it really is the idea of eternal punishment connected with it. And we see that. I want you to see Revelation 21 for a second. Turn over there to Revelation. I have you turn there because it's an easy turn, right to the back of the book. The last chapter is chapter 22. Revelation 21 is the second to last chapter in the Bible. And I want to show you this because this verse always just kind of sticks out a little bit. It always kind of shocks you a little bit. It has a little bit of a shock factor to it. Now, if you have a red letter Bible, this is in red letters because Jesus is speaking. It's about the end of the world. It's about the eternal state. And he says in Revelation 21:8, but the fearful and the unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone. This is the second death. What's the shocking part about that verse? is who's going to go to the lake of fire at the end? Who are the people that are the worst of the worst that get punished and punished forever and ever? It's the people that don't accept Jesus Christ, that are not defined as believers, but are defined as something else. They're defined by their sins. And you look at that, and the list is interesting because the list has some pretty bad dudes in there. Murderers? Yeah, you would think. People that murder, those are the people that you would expect to be in the lake of fire. Sorcerers, people that are involved in witchcraft and all sorts of evil. Yeah, them too. Idolaters. Yeah, we could see that. But when it says liars there at the end, it shocks you because it shows you the broad scope of things. To lump liars in with murderers, sorcerers, and idolaters and whoremongers is to say that all these sins have an equivalency, have a similarity in their wickedness. And sometimes we think, oh, lying, that's just the littlest of the sins. Those are the smallest of the sins. But God says lying is enough to send you to the lake of fire forever. I think that's a shocking thing. So a false witness shall perish. Now, and the encouraging part of this is your name's in the book of life. You've accepted Jesus Christ as your Savior. You are not defined by these sins. You are defined by Him. And that is what prevents us there. So a false witness shall perish. Yeah, if you are a liar and you never let Jesus change you from liar to Christian to believer, then you will perish in everlasting life. Pay attention right here, TJ, okay? Next one here is, again, back in verse 28. A false witness shall perish, but the man that heareth speaketh constantly. Now, here's the complex thing. Now, the simple part of this verse is, yeah, a false witness shall perish. I get that. If somebody is a liar and they never get saved and they lie, they're going to spend eternity punished. But what is the complex part about this verse is what's the connection between the two halves? Because there is a connection. Think about it. A false witness shall perish, but the man that heareth speaketh constantly. What is this talking about? What does the perishing of a liar have to do with the hearing man that is constantly speaking? Now, this proverb here, when you take two sides, and how you read some of these proverbs as you take one side, sometimes one side teaches you about the other side by what it says or by what it doesn't say. Notice what this implies. A false witness shall perish, but a man that heareth, okay, so you have two people compared, the liar and the listener. See that? This is implying that the liar does not listen because he is compared with the listener. The liar does not listen. And couldn't that, and isn't that true in a sense? If somebody is a false witness and is absorbed with their lying and uses their lying as much as they can, they're not listening. Who are they not listening to? They're not listening to others around them that tell us that's wrong, and they're not listening to God who tells them that's wrong. They are failing to listen. Liars don't listen. Secondly, this also implies that the man that does listen speaks the truth. Okay? How do you get that? Because the false guy doesn't listen. The guy that does listen, he doesn't speak lies. He is speaking the truth. And in fact, that's what that word means. We see that word constantly, and you're tempted to think when you read this on the face, there's this guy that listens and he's talking all the time, constantly. The word constantly here does not necessarily refer to continuously. It's more referring to he is consistent, he is constant, he is truthful, and that's what the word also could be translated, truthful or confident in his speech. He's speaking in a constant way, in a way that is consistent with the truth. That's what the word means. It doesn't mean continued. It means his goal of speaking is to speak what is constant, what is true, what is confident in. So really, the man that heareth, he speaks the truth, is what it could be defined as. Interesting. Meaning, the more you listen to the truth, and again, what's the truth? Well, you hold it in your hands. This is the truth. Pilate said, what is truth? And Jesus is the truth. He defines the truth, and his word is the truth. He that listens to the truth and internalizes truth and open yourself up to the truth, the more you will follow the truth, and the more the truth will flow from your lips. So the more you invest in this book, you eternalize this book, and you study this book, the more that your mouth is going to speak this book. Again, the more you're around lies, the more you listen to lies, the more you fellowship with liars, what do you think you're going to be speaking? You're going to be speaking lies. And lies are failures to agree with truth. In every lie, there is rebellion against the truth. In every lie, there is rebellion against the truth. So, again, when you hear the truth, internalize the truth, accept the truth, you speak the truth, and your life will be changed by the truth, and so will your eternal destiny. If you accept truth, which means to accept Jesus, you shall not perish eternally. Your body will die, but you will live forever, and your body will be remade in a place called heaven, and it's a wonderful thing. Follow after lies or follow after truth. Do you know that we are surrounded by lies all the time? We are surrounded by so many lies, and there's different types of lies. There's little lies and there's big lies. There's obvious lies and there's camouflage lies. And knowing what the truth is helps you to discern the lies. Just like they teach people in the FBI and other places in law enforcement, how do you spot a counterfeit bill? How do you know if there's a counterfeit bill or somebody's trying to counterfeit? Of course, today they have methods that are much easier. But back in the day, when people were printing money, like back 100 years ago or 50 years ago, before they changed money, the way that they taught people how to spot a counterfeit was not teaching them what counterfeits look like, but by showing them what the real bill looks like. You study the truth, you study the real thing, and you'll be able to easily spot a counterfeit. Same thing here. There are so many lies. Number 29. A wicked man hardeneth his face, but as for the upright, he directeth his way. Now, this is a visual one, verse 29. It makes you feel like, oh, the wicked man, he's got this cranky look on his face. He's all scrunched up and squid. He's hardened in his face. Now, it's not necessarily meaning he makes a certain facial expression, although a wicked man can make, and just like anybody can make a wicked facial expression or a more hardened facial expression. This is not necessarily talking about his face as much as it's talking about his heart. Okay? His face is reflective of his heart. He is hardening his heart and then hardening his face. And then he is contrasted with the upright. And this teaches us the difference between the wicked man and the upright man, the man that does evil and the man that does right. The wicked man is a stubborn man. Okay? Now, there is such things as being stubborn in a good way. You can be stubborn with the truth. You can be stubborn with your convictions. You can be stubborn for doing what is right. That is a good type of stubborn that we all should be. But there's also a wicked stubbornness that we know all too well that we do not want to change. We want it our way or the highway. Let me show you a couple verses here. Look over at Proverbs 28. Proverbs 28, a couple chapters over. Proverbs 28 says in verse 14, happy is the man that feareth always. He's talking about his relationship with the Lord. But he that hardeneth his heart shall fall into mischief. And why that sounds so simple? Oh, just a little bit of mischief. That nobody should want to fall into mischief. It's not as playful as it seems, that word. And then if you look at Proverbs 29 in the first verse there says, he that being often reproved hardeneth his neck, and he shall suddenly be destroyed, that without remedy. There is a hardness that can be developed in the heart. There can be a callousness and a coldness. If you are a person that is around certain things or around certain tragedies or around certain situations, there are hardnesses that can be developed. If you were an EMT, it would be unfortunate, but there could be a hardening that could take place on seeing very gruesome scenes. Could you imagine that? If you were a funeral director and every day you were dealing with people who lost their loved ones, there can become a sense of hardening emotionally to those sort of things because you are just around it so much. If you are involved, if you are involved in maybe working at a very fun place for people to go, like a roller coaster park, and you see people all the time that are really excited about the roller coasters, but you work with them every day, they're no big deal to you. You get used to it. Have a tolerance for it. What makes a wicked man hard in his heart? And the answer to that is pride and sin. He has so exposed himself. He has so become used to being proud and sinful that he just becomes hardened by that exposure. Pride is a 5-letter word. And in the middle of that 5-letter word, there is the letter I, which is the antithesis of the word pride. It's all about I, me. He is a me monster. This is the battle that we all face all the time. Am I going to become a me monster in this situation or in this scenario, or am I going to look to the Lord to fight my battles instead? And when a person becomes wicked and they go to wicked ways, they are always, always, always leaning on the me. And it starts to make you into a very stubborn and hardened person. And that is not where we need to be. He is hardened rather than softened towards certain things. And the pride, the center of this I thing, is very much saying no to God. No, God, no, God, no, God. I'm not going to do this. We cannot get in the process of saying no to God all the time. We shouldn't say no to God at any time. But when we consistently say no to God, we're in a problem. How many times do you think you say no to God a day? How many times do you think you say no to God a week? How many times do you think you say no to God a month and a year? And you think, well, I don't really say out loud, no, God. You may be right on that. But when you sin, every time, whether you say it willingly or subtly, every sin is a no to God situation. It is us shaking our fist in God's hand and hardening our hearts and being stubborn and saying, this is my way. And most of us, we try to stay soft to that. We come to church. We try to make sure that we confess our sins on a consistent basis. But you and I know that if we were to stay away from God and to stay in this mode of me, we could find ourselves easily hardened in our hearts. Now, he's contrasted here, the wicked man that hardeneth his face is contrasted with the upright man. And we can just assume and we can just imply that his heart is not hardened. His heart is soft because he's being compared here with him. It doesn't say that his heart is soft, but it's saying that it is because he directeth his way. Now, who's the he that directeth his way? He, God, directeth the upright man's way. Because his heart is soft. His heart is open. He's listening to God. He's saying yes to God. God convicts him and he says yes. Yes, God, yes, God, yes, God. And he that does that is led by God, led by God, led by God. Look over at Proverbs 11 for a second. Proverbs 11. Proverbs 11 and verse number 5. So the upright man says yes to God because his heart is soft. And 11:5 says the righteousness of the perfect. And perfect doesn't mean sinless, it means complete. And God completes us. He's what completes us. He's what makes us perfect, if you want to use this word. The righteousness of the perfect shall direct his way, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. So he that is saying yes to God knows where God wants him to go. Knows where God wants him to go. I would assume that every single one of us have areas that we say yes easily, and there are areas that it is hard for us to say yes easily. We ought to ask God to help us in these areas because all of us want to be directed by God and know where we are going. Now look here at verse 30 of in chapter 21. I find this verse amazing. I find this verse very amazing. There is no wisdom, no understanding, nor counsel against the Lord. That is a fabulous verse. There is no wisdom, there is no skill, there is no artfulness, there is no ability, there is no understanding, there is no intelligence, there is no reason, there is no argument, there is no counsel, no advice, no plan, no prudence against the Lord. This is truly an amazing statement here. And this is something that we all just need to remember. God is on another plane of intelligence than we are. As smart as man thinks he is, okay? And what do you think is the crown jewel of man's intelligence? Okay, we've done some pretty amazing things on this earth, have we not? I mean, we have sent people to the moon. I think at least they say we did. I mean, there's a debate on that. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. We have made big rocket ships. We do have satellites orbiting the Earth. That's pretty impressive. I mean, you do. A man has created a cell phone that can do way more than we ever thought could be done. I mean, you take this thing, you get in a time machine, you go back to 1900 and show somebody this, they're like, "Are you serious? Wow, the Earth is changing." We've done some pretty impressive things with our intelligence. We now have artificial intelligence. Ooh, and while that is scary in a sense, that is kind of impressive on a man's creation scale. But listen, God has done far greater than we could ever do. I mean, AI, this creation of a non-sentient life, is a very weak comparison to what God did when He made us. Okay. Now we think that we are smart because we made a little computer that can talk to us and figure stuff out and research faster than most things. And while that is impressive, God did something even greater. He made man with a soul and made our brains, which is way more advanced. I mean, you think about the human brain, that is an amazing thing. There's amazing thing that the human brain can do, many amazing things, and God is the one that started it all. As smart as man thinks he is, God is on another level. No matter how smart we get, we will always be playing checkers compared to God playing 4D chess, all right, or 5D chess. There's really no illustration to really put it. And as smart as we think we are, and as intelligent as we become, that blinds us sometimes to think that we can take down God's ways. Think of the devil himself. Now, the devil is a person. The devil has intelligence. I'm sure the devil knows the book, all right? I'm sure he knows certain things. I'm sure he knows Revelation and what it says. I'm sure he's probably sat in on a couple sermons from time to time over his stroll through civilization for the last 600 years. I'm sure he's probably heard how all this stuff ends. But yet the devil is so delusional that he thinks that he can actually win. I think he believes that. I think he actually thinks that he can overtake, or at least he thinks he can really do something against God. But listen, there is no wisdom, there is no counsel, there is no understanding against the Lord. You cannot overtake He who made it all. It is impossible. That is amazing statement. And that should really humble us in our endeavors to be smart and think we can figure things out. And it really makes us ask, who are we trusting in? What reliance of our own understanding are we putting in? And it should allow us to look to Him to direct our path. We think of Isaiah 55:8, when God says, "My thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." Think about that verse. How far above the earth is the heavens where God resides? Immeasurable. There's an immeasurable distance because nobody really knows where the heavens are. All right? Nobody even knows where God resides. It's an unmeasurable distance between the earth and where God resides. How much, and what he's saying is, how greater is my intelligence and my ways and my thoughts than yours? It's immeasurable. Again, we're playing checkers. God is playing 4D chess with his blindfold on. There's just no way you can put it down. That should allow us to trust in Him and not our own understanding, our own perceived wisdom, nor our own counsel. It's really a fascinating verse. And then lastly, we will conclude with verse 31. It says, "The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is in the Lord." If I could give you the modern day version, the tank, okay, the nuclear bomb, the battleship, the helicopter. The weapon of war is prepared against the day of battle, but the safety is not in that item of warfare. It is in the Lord. Let me show you a couple verses here. Let's go back to Psalm 3 for a second. I'm going to walk you through 3 verses real quick, just to kind of give you a little idea of this. Psalm 3, we'll start there. Psalm 3 in verse 3 says, "But thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory and the lifter up of my head." Here, David says God is his defensive weapon. God is my shield. Look over at Psalm 20. Psalm 20. Psalm 20 and verse number 7 says, "Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God." Here's David again saying, some people are like, "Well, look at my chariot. I'm going to be unstoppable. I got the strongest, fastest horse in the corral. Nobody's going to stop me. I got the sharpest sword and the thickest armor. Nobody's going to stop me." But we trust in the name of the Lord our God. Psalm 33. Let's go to 33. This will be our last one. Psalm 33. In Psalm 33, in verse 17, Psalm 33:17 says, "A horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. Behold, the eye of the Lord is upon them that fear him, upon them that hope in his mercy, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine." So here is a basic idea of, military people trusting in military weapons to help them have military victories and to preserve their lives. Pretty simple way to see how they're going. But David's said several times, and David's son Solomon is saying here, by inspiration of God, it's got nothing to do with your horse. It's got nothing to do with your weapon. It's got everything to do with God. What are we hoping in, and what are we trusting in? There are things that we can trust that do not truly help us and that make no difference the outcome. Some people trust in their money. No, I'm going to be fine because I have this amount of money in the bank. Some people are going to trust in their talents or their abilities or their mindsets or their personality. I'm going to be okay because I can do this and I have this sort of talent or this sort of ability, and I'm going to be okay because of this. Some people trust in who they know, their friends or their family. I'm going to be okay because I know this person and this person can help me to get through this. Some people trust in their own understanding, their own experiences, their own resources, but no other thing can truly save you from every single situation. And the only person that can is the Lord. This verse reminds me of a simple phrase that I often lean on when things are difficult. Pray like everything depends on God. Pray like everything depends on God and work like everything depends on you. I'll say it again. We need to pray like everything depends on God, but we need to work like everything depends on us. I think the marrying of these two ideas of prayerfulness plus personal responsibility will allow us to succeed in every scenario. Sometimes people only do one or the other. They're either praying, like everything depends on God, but they're not doing anything. They're just sitting there, waiting for something to happen. You may not be able to see results if you just pray and do nothing. And some people do the opposite. They do every single possible thing that they can, yet they're not asking God for his help. And I think that if you are a soldier and you're going to go out to battle, you're not going to say, I'm just going to go out there with no shield, with no weapon, with no armor, with no horse, with nothing, and just pray and go out there and see what happens. No. And you're not going to say, well, I'm going to trust in all this stuff to help me, and I'm not going to pray. No. You need to suit up. You need to put your armor on. You need to prepare for battle as a soldier should, but then also ask God for his protection and his guidance and his help. You need to do both. You need to do both. You need to pray like everything depends on God and work like everything depends on you. When you marry these two ideas of personal responsibility and prayerfulness, God will help you through it. He will help you through it. That's Proverbs 21. Again, 4 verses that we looked at tonight. A false witness shall perish, but a man that heareth speaketh constantly. Are we listening and speaking the truth? A wicked man hardeneth his face, but as for the upright, he directeth his way. Are our hearts hard, or are our hearts soft, and are letting God direct our ways? There is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against the Lord. Are we recognizing God's wisdom and ways and counsel and trusting in him, or are we trusting in ourselves? And the horse is prepared against the day of battle, but the safety is of the Lord. Are we praying like everything depends on God and working like everything depends on us, or are we just doing one of those? That is our challenge tonight from the Book of Wisdom. Father, thank you so much for allowing us to be here tonight. Thank you so much for allowing us to look at your word. Dismiss us with your blessing and bring us back here safe on Sunday for church. In Jesus' name, amen. You are dismissed.